Welcome everyone. My name is Kim Elton. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Venture Innovations, and it is my duty to kick things off here. But first, let me wish you all the best of this holiday season, and thank you for taking the time to be here, to step away from your families and celebrations to hear this report. We really appreciate it. You are our inner circle, friends, family, investors, and stakeholders, and we truly value your support, particularly at the end of a very challenging year. Well, we'll cover all of that and also our plans for what is beginning to look like a very promising year ahead. And I'd like to thank some folks that have helped us to weather the storm and get here. Impresario Partners, founders Nicholas Jeffrey and George Moen for their guidance and strategic planning, and Vested.ca, David Patterson and his team for 2 rounds of crowdfunding. Thanks to you, we've had enough to bootstrap our way through. Thank you all. So let me first introduce you to our chairman, Mr. Nicholas Jeffrey, to get the party started. Nicholas?
It's really nice if there is a problem with the slides because you get thanked 2 or 3 times. So Kim, don't worry about it. My role here is I'm the founder and chief executive of Impresario. Impresario is a significant minority investor, but from the beginning we decided that on a pro bono basis that we would take executive roles wherever Aaron, Kim and the team need us to do. And I stepped in probably because I was the only person in Canada who knew where Uganda was, having grown up there as a small child. But I said, look, I would be delighted as the only one with grey hair on the team to step in. In fact, I think I'm younger than Kim, but I was actually prepared to step in as the chairman of the organization. I've really, really enjoyed doing it. The 2 reasons. One, because it gave Impresario a really nice portfolio company to talk about. You know, we have 17, 18 portfolio companies across the planet at the moment, and they're all spectacular companies in their own way. But in terms of trying to do anything to save the planet or help humanity, they don't cut it other than if they're doing something from a corporate social responsibility. They sell stuff, they sell it well, they've got great teams, really nice people and really great products, but they don't do anything to contribute to
it's very in service.
Yeah. Somebody's got their microphone off, if you wouldn't mind just switching that off. But my role here within Ventry and Priceless has really just to be the old corporate sage and help Aaron get to a situation where we can go out to substantial funding. We got the deck ready at the time when Ukraine and Russia went to war. We've had a crash in the market. The Web3 market tanked, and we see a lot of the investors that we were going out to talk to help us raise circa $5 million USD were losing 75 to 80% of their portfolio value companies. So we're hanging on to their cash to support their own portfolio rather than looking at new stuff. So we tried a couple of people, didn't really get very far. And it was because what was going on in the world, which we had no control over. But we decided to use the time carefully to try and build up a lot of the building blocks and the foundation of the business. So the most important thing for me, with my banking experience was really to build up and fortify the corporate governance and get it. It's more than financial stability. It was financial probity. I wanted to get myself into a situation where I could hand on heart say, I know what this business is doing and where it's going and how it's spending its cash appropriately. So Aaron and the team have done a fairly significant job bringing the farm over 7 years of banking up to date and putting it all on QuickBooks. And we've appointed a new financial controller She's come on board and working with Joseph Chen, who's part of the team already, to even get to the point where we put in a CFO tracker so that Aaron and the rest of the team can literally go on board to Google Docs any hour of the day and find out exactly how we're doing financially, how we're doing operationally, and what we're doing on all the projects. And this is something that everybody has access to. And I think it's the first time that the business have actually had visibility at that level of granularity. The next thing was really to increase production capacity, because yes, we'd started doing some sales. Yes, we'd started doing some sales through Family and Friend. We'd started to pick up the Inventory Live online portal, but we wanted to expand and upgrade the processing facilities so we can get involved in these compliant certifications to be able to sell this to the US and to EU, which is obviously far greater than the Ugandan market. But we need certifications to do it if we're going to do it on our own. We can sell it through a third party, but we lose margin. So Aaron and the team have been upgrading all the facilities, and we'll talk about that. Then we've got irrigation. Irrigation's critical to the species, but also critical to the farm overall, and relatively close to Lake Choga. Aaron and the team have built new irrigation systems into the plant, and you can see exactly what's going on there. So we've been focusing on local Ugandan markets, expanding the retail reach through distribution agreements. They're all in place. They're going very, very well. And we're moving towards this carbon credit accreditation plan, which is a massive part of the strategy. We don't want to grow trees for carbon credits, but carbon credit offsets critical for the planet, and the bonuses, both financially and from a corporate social responsibility, are massive. So we have spent a lot of the company's money in building out this accreditation plan, and Aaron will give you some bit more information. I'll stay on the phone the whole time, but Aaron, just pass it over to you. Thank you. You and the team done an amazing job this year, and I'm really looking forward to 2023. So Aaron, I'll pass it over to you, and I'll stay on if there's any questions at the end.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Yeah, that was great. Okay, so I'm just going to go through slide by slide here and just hammer out all of the details so that everybody has a clear view on what's going on. And definitely, like, one of the things that I've learned to be able to thrive at doing is bootstrapping. You know, we've been out here. I've been in Uganda for 17 years now, and so with the investments that came in this year, albeit we didn't hit our targets, it was still a really wonderful year for us. We were able to accomplish a heck of a lot, and that's one of the beautiful things about maturing as a business in a country like Uganda, where about 80% of the companies that start here don't last past the first 2 to 3 years. That might even be an understatement. But the fact is that we do know how to make things work, even when the money is small. And so we've done some really amazing stuff. So maybe you could just go to the next slide, Kim. Yeah, so this is a view of our facility, and the lower right picture here, you can see the expansion. So prior to this year, we were only able to produce around 10 to 15 kilos of finished product per day. That means we were only taking in those leaves that you see there, about 100 kilos to 150 kilos per day. Even prior to finishing this facility, using 1/4 of the new space where you see these racks, which are under construction in that photo, everything is polished and finished now. Even just 1/4 of that space, we were able to jump up to 30 kilos per day. And this also comes back to why we're investing in more irrigation. Not only this year have we done some major adjustments to get more water on the site, but also in the future, we have plans to go even further. So we can go to the next slide. And here you just see, you know, some of the different installations that have been in the facility and that are continuing to produce the moringa that we're doing. I can talk about this year, we've added more energy systems, more air systems. So air, energy, and water, these are the 3 most critical things to processing high-grade herbal powders. And we have a list of roughly about 15 herbal powders that we're now producing directly, and a long list of products to be going into with this same facility, because we can produce any types of leaves. So some of the beautiful ones like neem, guava, mango, bitter leaf. We've been shipping them to different buyers. We just shipped, I think, a sample pack of about 9 different herbal powders to Hong Kong. And we also have been shipping to Japan, but we'll talk about that later. So the next slide. And another thing I'll mention before I go into flood irrigation is that the factory that we're building right now really is a small scale factory still. So even when we get to 100 kilos a day, that's a great accomplishment. But the truth is that going forward, 2023 onwards, we want to make a much larger commercial operation. So this is all still just very much the beginning stages. Earlier in the year, this was one of the critical installations that you see here. The digger there is opening up a channel that connects us to the Nile River through our lower acreage. And we did this in conjunction with the local authorities. We informed everybody. We talked with everybody. We said we want to bring water closer. Everybody was clapping and happy. You can see the picture of the staff there. I mean, water is life. And we doubled the amount of water that we were receiving with this one installation because we essentially removed 1 kilometer of what they call head on our water line. And therefore, we just get more water every day. And we're still operating on 1 pump. We're going to add 2 more pumps to this system. And we're going to have I believe, close to 180, potentially 200,000 liters of water daily coming from our solar pumps from this dam installation that we've done. And that's a big step forward for us because we've got 140 acres. Currently, only roughly 30 acres are under moringa cultivation. So we actually do have an extensive amount of land to grow onto and to improve our crops. So we have the capacity of the facility coming up at the same time the capacity of the crops coming up because of these types of hard knock installations that we're doing. Next slide. So this is an example of what it looks like with the flood irrigation. We, in the past, have tried different forms of irrigation from drip irrigation to sprinklers. All of those technical styles of irrigation are actually quite challenging. There's a lot of challenge with routine, also maintenance. The sprinklers, for example, require generators and pumps to be run and operated effectively. This is very difficult in the environment that we're in. You need to move them around. Those moving parts have a lot of wear and tear. And we actually had an experience with drip irrigation where the termites ate the plastic drip line. So we realized, we're not going to sacrifice our core sentiment of being an organic farm and start spraying and killing these termites, which are the fundamental builders of soil in the country. So we've opted to now use the permaculture design techniques, go much higher on the amount of water we have, and put in what you're seeing here is flood irrigation channels. So these are level contour channels where the water, which is being drawn in from the lake, is now being channeled to different acreage. So far, we've put roughly 6 acres now under this channeled irrigation. And as well at these locations, the flood irrigation doesn't hit every single tree. So we also do watering by hand. And again, this is just to mitigate the dry spells. So normally Uganda has very good weather patterns and we get 2 seasons per year. With moringa, on a good year, when you have 2 regular rain events, you'll get 5 harvests. But we have experienced in the past where we get 3-4 months with absolutely no rain, and the production level goes down. Regardless of how much sprinkling you do, it goes down. So we've done flood irrigation now with an excessive amount of water, and also we'll be hand watering and mulching those specific crops. So the total surface area of where we're collecting comes down to 6 acres, but the 6 acres is intensively managed during those dry seasons when all of the labor is available because they don't have to focus on weeding anymore. They just focus strictly on 6 acres as opposed to 30 acres. Next slide. And it's, by the way, it's incredibly beautiful. Walking around the farm when the flood irrigation is going, it's little streams everywhere, and you're walking over these streams, and there's frogs and everything. It's just beautiful. Okay, so our Moringa for Kids program, we started this before COVID era, and COVID was very draconian. The way in which the Ugandan government operated, like, I can't explain to you how brutal it was here. It was an absolute lockdown for 2 years. It was difficult to do much of anything at all. So during the last few years, we've just been sort of giving out to different orphanages and different communities. And this year, with our musician Navio here, pictured here, very close friend of ours, he's on a royalties contract with us. We've been able to sort of expand the Moringa for Kids program once again because schools are back in session. And now what we've done is we've actually worked within our local district because we want to prove to our local district, which is a very impoverished region in the country, that we can actually solve a lot of the issues that are going on with people's health because of the general lack of micronutrients and the lack of nutrition in this region. And we've seen from our first runs where we had about 2,500 children and many, many others throughout the last few years, we've seen absolutely stunning results. So this is something that Navio is absolutely passionate about. He himself suffered from ulcers. He had some asthma and different types of, how do you call it? When you're sneezing all the time. I don't know why I'm not getting the word. But,
Asthma.
Not only asthma, but, when you're influenced by grass and dust and it bothers you.
Hay fever.
Allergies. Thank you. Allergies. So he used to have a lot of allergies and he had, bouts with asthma. And once he started taking Moringa, his ulcers went away. His asthma is totally manageable. Like he rarely ever gets attacks anymore. And his allergies have reduced massively. So he's on it every day. He's also a bit of a workout buff. He's an incredible hip hop artist. He's honestly, and this is coming from somebody who spent a lot of years with hip hop artists in my early years and all throughout my life. And he is one of the best hip hop artists that I have ever met and that I've ever heard, actually. And he's little known, but I do believe his career is just going to explode. He's already one of the top 5 artists in Africa, and he's just a lovely guy. So we've gone forward with this program now, and we're going to be doing a lot of media coming up next year. And I really think that we've got a winning sort of team here. The Moringa for Kids program is obviously also, as a form of CSR, not only are we proving what we're assuming with Moringa in terms of what it can do for Africa, but we're also using this as a marketing platform because it's all about sensitization. So we realized during the COVID era that Uganda actually has the highest rate of ulcers in the world. Okay, and if you go to Google Trends and type it in, you see ulcers. So we're really focused on ulcers as our first sort of broad spectrum marketing campaign because we figured that basically 60% of the population claims that they're suffering from ulcers. That's okay, no worries. I thought maybe there was a question. If anybody does have a burning question, you can chip in, but we can also save them for the last or type them in the chat. So this is our campaign. This is our girls and one of our team members there in one of the major supermarket chains. We've been onboarded with Benas Africa. Benas is distributing Lay's potato chips, Oreo cookies, Doritos, all these sort of like top premium brands. And they're a lovely group. They built their company from scratch. They literally built a very large distribution company from one single pallet of Toblerone chocolate bars about 8 years ago. And now they've become one of the premium like super brands. So these guys are real soldiers in terms of marketing, and they're working with us hand in hand to teach us the ropes about how to market. And so we're just getting into that market penetration right now. Next slide. And these are just some of the different attributes and things that we're doing here. So you can just see here. So
some of the online marketing that we've been doing. Yeah. I'm just saying this is some of the online marketing that we're beginning to do primarily in Africa. And Joel, our webmaster, is doing this work for us. So these are some of the images of the creative and so on.
Yeah, I'll keep powering through this. So yeah, it's the marketing is going really well. What we noticed, actually, something that I'm really happy about, is that we did hit the nail on the head with the ulcers campaign, because every time we go into a supermarket with our street team and we hand out our stickers and we wear the shirts and the girls are interacting with people, it's like interactive social network marketing, the supermarket sells out. because people say, oh, it helps with ulcers. I'm taking it because almost everybody in the country has ulcers. So it's a great campaign, and we just need to push that harder to get our marketing, to get our market traction going with Uganda. And I think the last thing I could say about the marketing thing is that we've also recertified with UNBS, which is like one of the most stringent standards in Africa. It's extremely difficult, but we've done it again. And that's also giving us access now to Egypt, Kenya, Tunisia, and all the rest of East Africa, essentially. Even as far as South Africa, we're in negotiation. So we're kind of getting ready with the factory coming online to a larger scale. We're even improving our packaging this year as well. Now the UNBS certification has come back. Again, we lost the certification during COVID. So that's, for those of you who are wondering, well, why wasn't it always there? It's because we actually had to let it go because we were unable to market and we were unable to do anything for the 2 years of COVID. And then it took us this year to get ready and build back better, basically. I could steal that from the American government. And so here we are. We're making market penetration. Benas is a great company. They've paid 2 checks into our account so far. We've actually been using some of their finance to survive and, pay forward our staff salaries. So we're feeling really good as we're going into 2023 with our marketing. So these relationships that I'm going to mention now, we've got signed MOUs, and these are the 3 big ones that have been fully locked in this year, which are very, very exciting to me. And we have a lot of other partnerships in early stage developments, which we're not going to mention here. So we'll just go through these ones here. That's a picture of myself with His Majesty King Oyo. He's the youngest monarch in world history. He has 7 districts are within his kingdom of influence. And there's roughly around 8 million citizens, basically within his kingdom, his subjects. And it's an amazing opportunity for us because he has a very strong forward-thinking attitude about how to develop Africa. Similar to myself, he has a very long-term vision for Africa, and he's totally 100% invested in agriculture as a means to lift people out of poverty. So when we first met about almost 2 years ago, we just got along like peas in a pod. And lo and behold, now we have a wonderful contract which stipulates 14 areas of development, including bamboo, carbon offsets, and many, many, many others that are within our scope of business as a company. And we're also, within that same contract and MOU, we're also supporting the kingdom to gain other business development partners who fit within the sort of social framework and the moral framework of what His Majesty would like to accomplish with his kingdom. So it's a very, very big opportunity for us, particularly when you look at carbon offset programs and tree planting programs and outreach programs. I mean, we have 6 million citizens in that contract to communicate with, work with, contract with within that kingdom. And he's just a lovely, lovely guy. Pictured to the right of that, you can see us holding a Japanese flag. This is he's become a very good friend of mine. His name is Mr. Yoshi, and he is a senior Japanese businessman who has been operating and owning a medical corporation out of Japan called the Yoshitoku Medical Corporation. And we have just this month finally signed an agreement with them to start distribution through his company to Japan, and then from Japan, all of Asia. And we've sent some samples to him early on in the relationship that he paid for. And his medical team and the laboratory staff who tested it upon arrival, they said this is the best stuff we've ever seen out of Africa. So that's why he came back to us and he said, I want to work with you, Yearend. I can tell you're a serious guy. Your company is just amazing. And so we've got a wonderful contract there. And he's got a lot of business network and connections in Japan that he's also going to be introducing us to. Pretty much the entire elite upper level business class in Japan is going to start to hear about and know what we're doing in East Africa. And you can see there, we're standing with Dr. Neil Holder, who is the ambassador to King Oyo outside of the king's palace there in the Toro Kingdom. So there's also some very nice synergies going on there between the kingdom and Japan. and many, many more. I could spend a whole day talking about what's going to happen with the kingdom. So that's an awesome set of relationships that we've formalized. And then down here, we see the International University of East Africa. They have given us an MOU and signed off on an MOU to give us the rights to develop 9,000 hectares of land under our Moringa carbon offset and organic farming methodologies. And this would be something that we would be able to do in tandem with the university to also build up, you know, sort of campuses with them as well and educational experiences, so that we don't only develop the 9,000 hectares, but we also support the entire region to learn, replicate, and expand those models outwards. Now, the International University of East Africa, pictured here on the very bottom right corner, you can see Mr. Hassan Alwi. He's the director of the university. He's a very young gentleman. He's following in the footsteps of his grandfather, who laid down a foundation in their family to educate Africa forward in terms of development. So they're doing development through education. And we couldn't honestly have found a better family and a better university to work with. Their faculty are absolutely amazing. They have some rocket scientist-like people. And their intention is to become the #1 technical institute in all of Africa. And I'm working with them daily to bring multiple business partnerships to them, not the least of which is us as a group. So I do believe that they will accomplish their goals. They have connections all the way to Dubai and globally to Ireland, and now with us, the rest of our networks as well. So their head is in the right place, their heart is in the right place, and they've got a $27 million campus right in the middle of Kampala City. So for those of you who do travel to Uganda, this is a great location to come and visit. And we even have a water slide park, just as a side note, inside the campus. So it's the only campus in Africa that has a water slide park. Next slide. Again, I could go on all day about these relationships because they're so critical to our growth, but I just wanted to give you guys a total overview. Okay, so now carbon credits. I'll just do a preamble, but then I'm gonna walk you into one of these documents that we've accomplished, because I saved the carbon credits for sort of our last discussion here. Pictured here, you can see some of the research that we were doing earlier on in the year, where we actually measure the breadth and height of a specific portion of a tree. Then we cut the tree down exactly at ground level, as you see in the second photo. And then we chop it up and we weigh it in bushels until we get the total mass of the live tree. And then after that, we literally chip it into little tiny pieces like you see here on the far right. And this is how you measure how much carbon a tree has in it over time. So this is our Moringa oleifera species. And this is a seed producing tree. And this represents the topmost carbon sequestering tree within our carbon offset platform, which I am now going to dive into a little bit. And I'm going to open up a little bit of a discussion with you about what that means for us as a company in today's world, where carbon credits are becoming one of the most valuable means through which humanity is investing into earth repair corporations and sustainable development goal promoting corporations, which is what we are holistically. We are promoting all of the sustainable development goals, and we are now finished with our scoping report. So just give me 2 minutes and I'm going to bring that up. Kim, if you don't mind, I will share my screen now. Now, we're not going to go through this whole report, so don't get scared. It's a 45-page document. We spent, and we are currently spending money on this. We have a wonderful contract with Jenny Farmer. I've known her for probably about 8 years. She grew up in Uganda. Her father founded the Carbon Credit Bureau of Uganda. She grew up doing these things, and then she, a little over a year ago, she received her doctorate in environmental sciences from Newcastle University. And she is by far and large one of the best carbon scientists in East African region, because number one, she has the education, number two, she has the experience, and number three, she has the passion and drive for this type of work. So she fully understands how and what she is doing, and so she charges top dollar. This is by no means a cheap endeavor. Generally speaking, people say you got to spend at least $250,000 to get to the stage where you have verified credits. And that includes going through the entire feasibility stage and so on and so forth. So what I'll do is I'll take you to the very bottom here, and I'll just show you this annex number 3. And I'm hoping everybody can see okay. So we are at the very beginning stages. So we've done over 7 years of research leading up to the concept that moringa trees planted in rows with food production in between them could potentially be a good carbon offset, as well as food security and poverty reduction methodology, because it's resilient to the climate fluctuations. The moringa produces multiple products, including fertilizer for the crops. And the list goes on and on and on, okay? This is literally something that we've put, I mean, I would say I started designing this system in 2010 when I first came across the moringa tree. And then we as a company have been building that idea out and evolving it. And we're here now at the project scoping phase, which is done. And the results are absolutely spectacular. The rest of these phases are going to happen throughout 2023. And I don't want to go too much into that, but I just wanted everybody to have a view and an understanding that by the time we get verified credits that are minted by our system, it'll probably be Q1, Q2, 2024, just so everybody understands the timeline. So we need to make some more major investments into this. For example, with the kingdom, for the community model, and for example, with the university, with the commercial model. So there's 2 models that we're doing. And right now, the scoping report being done basically shows other companies and scientists and investors that we are a very good project. So I'll just quickly come to this section that says next steps. Mind my scrolling. Next step. So this is like the final, out of all of the data and all of the science, this took her about 2 months to do, roughly 14 days of work. So having completed this scoping exercise, it can be concluded that the Ventry Life tree planting program would be well suited to be developed as a carbon project. Barriers have been identified which would prevent the project happening on scale without the carbon payments, and the project would have significant benefit to smallholder farmers' lives and futures. The carbon benefits from the project would be significant, especially in the moringa planting systems. So that's just one final paragraph there that I wanted you to hear, because this is why you do a scoping report. Is our idea valid? Is our idea worthwhile to invest and to continue to work with? Now I'm going to take you to a graph where she has done a comparison with other projects in the region. And I'm not going to dive too much into it, but these numbers right here on the far right corner represent your long-term average carbon sequestration on a per model basis. So here we have trees for global benefits. We have Comesa, Kenya, tropical agroforestry, tropical moist Africa, IPCC. These are other existing projects that are similar in scope, meaning they produce very similar carbon credits, which is what we call agroforestry. So these are not just monoculture plantations with only pine trees or only, one single species. These are credits that are similar to our model. And at the very top here, you can see, based on her research, we came out with a score of 322 tons average per hectare, as opposed to the next level down, which is 277 tons here. Now, like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail because we can talk about this all day long, and we'll do other workshops, and we'd be very happy to host workshops where we can, coach and teach people about what all this means. But essentially what we've done with this scoping report is we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if we're not the best in the region, we're very likely in the top 3 or 4. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say it, we are the best according to this paperwork and all of this data that we've put together. So I just wanted to show you all this, because this now sets us up as a corporation. It takes all of the 12 years of, thinking and development and sandboxing that we've been doing, particularly the last 7 years with Priceless Farms, where we've done it on a commercial scale And we've spent the money, we've hired the experts, we've done the third-party validation thing here with what's going on with this scoping report. And the scoping report is basically, it's validating what our assumptions were, that this could potentially be a very good carbon project. So it's extremely good. I'm just noting there's a chat here. Maybe Kim, just check the chat just in case somebody has a comment or something. And so with this scoping report being done, we're now moving into the next stages where we start to actually implement, we start to do more feasibility studies, and we start to invest more. And this actually puts us in an extremely good position going forward into 2023, where essentially the whole world is looking for carbon credits and the demand is much higher than the supply. So there is a huge market right now growing for what they call pre-purchasing carbon credits. I'm going to stop sharing now. Kim, you can take back.
There's a question you might want to answer, Aaron. Dannison is asking if we will be circulating that report.
Very, very carefully, and only if you have a non-disclosure agreement with us. This is a highly sensitive set of data and documents that we have to safeguard as a company. So, Dannison, we'd be happy to discuss that, absolutely. And of course, anybody who's working directly with us and who has signed a non-disclosure agreement with our head office, I'm sure we can find a way to share that document. At this time, though, because it is sort of 12 years of internal work, and it is just a scoping document, we need to be very careful that it doesn't get sort of shared openly to the rest of the world, and then somebody else just kind of uses it to their own advantage. And I don't know. It's a good question, Dannison. So we'll get back to you on that.
At some point, we will, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is all going to be open source, but we want to make sure that we get far along enough that this model truly is, contained, and then after we've built it effectively so that it is absolutely proven through the feasibility stage all the way to verified credit stage, that's when we can go open source, right? But I want to make sure that we get to the verified carbon credit stage before we go open source with these types of sensitive documents. But it's a good question, and I'm very open to discussing this with everybody in the corporate team and also all of our investors as well. So that's that. So the point I was making before that question came in was the fact that as we go further and further along this track now, which has been proven to be a very good course and direction for us to go after the carbon credit, we're entering into that pre-purchase carbon credit market. And one of the things that I wanted to relay, because I've been focused on this carbon credit thing now for the better part of a year and a half, learning from Jenny, reading about it, learning from the market, is to just state that carbon credits are essentially an investment tool that was created so that corporations, companies, governments, and individuals can have a means through which they can support companies like ours that are actively developing and promoting sustainable development goals, which are improving the environment, improving the atmosphere, and improving people's livelihood towards the ultimate goal of world peace, if you will, and world stability. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there during this meeting, is that we are now, after 12 years of work and after the last 7 years of real strong sandbox feasibility studies, we are now in an extremely good position going forward into 2023, where I believe that we are going to attract some substantial partnerships above and beyond the ones that we've already created. Speaking of which, we're just going to keep expanding our partnerships in Africa and around the world. So that's about as much as I can say for carbon credits. So please hold your questions, because I'd love to open a dialogue at the end of this so that we can discuss more about the carbon credits. Jenny Farmer called me 10 minutes before the call, and she said she wasn't able to make it. Her whole family is down with strep throat at the moment, and her husband is down for the count. So she has 3 little babies. So she sends her apologies. But we will be doing future calls with Jenny, who is contracted now as our full-time carbon expert inside Ventry. And another thing I'll say as a view to the future that I've been discussing with Jenny is that we're also going to be looking at providing these services that she does, but to a larger audience as a sort of consultancy. So we could be able to help coach and work with other companies on contracts to develop their carbon offset agendas as well. And we're also developing a department in the university for carbon sciences as well with Jenny. So that's all forward-looking stuff. Slide 17. I think we're getting pretty close to the end here.
Yeah, I think, okay, so Aaron, just quickly, this is the trainings with Dr.
Sure.
Gerd. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about this first? Go ahead.
So we're almost at the end, but one of the other major undertakings and activities that we've been doing recently this year is working with these organizations here with Dr. Gerd, who's on the call with us. And we've been doing a lot of great trainings with them to empower other companies in the region to adopt stronger management styles and all the different things that are required for companies to go from sort of cottage industry to more commercialized and export ready companies. And so actually with that in mind, Dr. Gerd, if you don't mind, he was happy to just give his comments and his experience with us. And this is something that we're looking forward to promoting and going much stronger into the future to provide many, many trainings, because Venture Innovations has a very strong educational component to it. And we want to become a premium destination for online and physical workshop trainings throughout all of the various institutions that we're going to be working with. So Dr. Gerd, if you're there, maybe I could just give you the floor for about 2 to 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Yes, of course, I'm here and I'm carefully listening to all the interesting success stories you've mentioned. Yes, training becomes a very relevant topic, not only because it provides additional income for your company. I guess what is really outstanding is that you develop the quality system for, let's say, nature ingredients, which can be applied for any kind of nature ingredients, shea butter, herbs, moringa, whatever. So that is something what I believe, or we believe, Priceless Farms has a leading position at, and that's the reason why we were really grateful that you trained a lot of companies, not only in the moringa business, but also in the business of desert date oil and shea butter, to help companies to set up a quality system, which is a precondition to export to international markets. So I guess it was a very good cooperation and win-win situation for all of us. And we believe, and also you have the guys and the people in your team which knows how to tackle the right topic for local companies. So I guess we are able to extend this cooperation and these training activities for any kind of natural ingredients company in Uganda. And I guess this also contributes to increased visibility of Priceless Farms, because there are a lot of different international donors engaged, and they all really appreciate the training activities you implemented. So I guess that's a short comment, and I guess it's an interesting side stream and activity Priceless Farms should focus at in 2023. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And just on that subject, in the budgets for 2023, we do have a sizable amount that we are going to be deploying into our training facilities on the farm itself. So we're going to have a really nice hands-on sort of training camp on the site going forward. And definitely this will be something that will be replicated throughout all of the different installations and regions that we go to, because skilling people is the key to our corporate growth, to our company's growth, and therefore the growth of all of the sustainable development goals that we are actually hitting with this money-making enterprise. Another thing I would like to mention, which again is also forward-looking, is that Dr. Gerd has agreed to also join a board of directors on a new NGO that we're launching here in February 2023, which is called Meta World Aid. So that's something to just look forward to, that we are going to launch an NGO, which is going to make us much better position. It's going to position us in a much better way to interact with the type of funding that's coming out of the European Union and the World Bank, which Dr. Gerd has a pulse on, because he's been out operating in that space for many, many years, highly successfully. And so we're quite excited going forward with the relationship. And Dr. Gerd, again, you were one of the best investors that we had this year. So I think on behalf of everybody, we just thank you so much for your contributions and your partnership. So thank you so much. And
You're most welcome. Thanks.
yeah, and just I wanted to do an honorable mention here. This gentleman that you see in the blue shirt in the top right corner here is Joseph Olupot. He is the assistant director of Priceless Farms. He is our master trainer. He is a marketing guy. He's our communications guy. He's doing our finances with the new financial team. And we have Sandra Atermo, who I was going to highlight a little bit more, but we've just got an amazing team of people working together. And Joseph, without you, definitely we wouldn't have been able to come this far. So that gentleman right there that you see in the top right corner, Joseph Olupot, he is the lifeblood and of this operation where we're at right now. And I know going forward, he has the same passion and the same drive as many other people that we work with. So we make a really great team. And I'll just say he's a dependable guy. And that's something that is very valuable in this world. So thank you so much, Joseph, for all of your hard work there. Coming down, I think this is going back to slide 17, yes. So this is a little pilot project. We wanted to essentially do a little pilot project here where we start to work out how people can basically sponsor trees and start feeling ownership over the trees, essentially, where you're participating with this. Maybe Kim, if you don't mind, I'll just hand this over to you.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this one very quickly. I showed this to.
I'll tail it off.
Okay, it might look a little complicated, so let me just quickly describe what this is. We've been trying to launch the TRIO, which is our utility token, which is based on block scale and all of that. And of course, we couldn't go ahead with that to do all of the development early in the year because we couldn't find a market. As you know, the crypto market has died. So somebody else is actually coming into the waiting room here. I'll let them in. So what we decided we'd do, and I've been pushing this for a while, is that we've got lots of trees in the ground, and we're fundamentally a tree selling company and growing company. So we want to do what we're going to call the TRIO pilot project. And as a gift to everyone on this call and everyone who owns a bag of moringa right now, is an investor, a stakeholder of some sort, that we are going to have a program where you can sponsor a tree. The document here on the right, the PDF file here, if you like, some people I've sent it to already. There's still being changes made to this, how it's going to work and so on. I want to be very clear that there's no monetary value. You can't take your trees and sell them or give them away or anything like that. But it's basically a sponsorship. And we're using a program called What Three Words so that we can communicate with people who are sponsoring trees. And so this is an example, a live example of this is one of our plots. And this is the What Three Words geo-target, geolocation. So these 3 words, if you type them into the What Three app, you'll come to this particular plot of land. And you'll be able to see how your tree is doing, what the weather's like. You get to meet the farmer and his family and the people that take care of those trees and harvest them and so on. So we'll be sending out more information about this, and we're going to start doing this first thing in January. It's going to be a couple of days from now. So
thanks. Let me also just tail off on that as well. So we didn't focus a lot on the TRIO in this presentation because of the downturn in the markets, and also a lack of interest from VCs in new tokens. But our token is still very, very strong. The idea that people can instantaneously acquire these tokens, and those funds which are gained go directly into these communities to grow these trees and expand these forests, is absolutely powerful. And so we do have 100% faith that this project is going to come up very well. So what Kim is trying to do here is essentially just kind of get something going where it's similar to what the TRIO is going to be doing. But the TRIO is essentially going to be a digital way for anyone in the world, any corporation in the world, to offset their carbon footprint with our corporation and with our respective plantations that are going to be spreading out like a franchise base across East Africa, and we hope globally throughout the tropical world as these missions start to grow. And so the TRIO is essentially a digital tracking tool that traces and tracks exactly the trees and exactly the farmers who received the money from those contributions, whether it's, Yahoo or, Toyota or even just an individual like a Canadian who has average of 14 tons per year. You can calculate in the wallet exactly how much of a carbon footprint you have and then say, I want to buy that much per month automatically and become a zero carbon footprint person. And then you get your tokens, and your tokens are a model that's tracking that. And there's a lot more to it. As a utility token, there's a lot of utility. It's not going to be one of these tokens that goes up and down. We're not trying to pump up the price. The price of this token is going to remain relatively stable within a range based on the value of carbon credits versus the amount of trees and forests that we actually have in circulation versus the number of tokens that we release in order to grow more trees and forests. So it's a huge crowdfunding and traceability platform in one utility token. And just to mention to the digital currency and the Web3 world, the digital currencies are not dead whatsoever. The US government is now really getting close to potentially launching their own digital currency. China has already done it. The whole world is moving this direction because it is so much more efficacious. It saves a lot of time, energy, and money as opposed to traditional currencies. And so we do strongly believe that this is going to be something that's going to be very useful in the coming years. But we didn't want to spend too much time on it because essentially the project has been somewhat put on pause this year. So that's great. So and we'll touch back on this later on and make it make more sense for everybody as well.
Season's greetings to you, Aaron, and all your partners of Venture Innovations. On behalf of the King Oyo Foundation, His Royal Majesty the King, Her Royal Majesty Queen Mother of the Toro Kingdom, and Prince Jonathan and myself, we wish to express to you our gratitude for your partnership during this year. We wish to thank you for the initiatives that you've brought to the King Oyo Foundation and the partners that we've become associated with through your interventions. We are extremely excited at the prospects that lie ahead of us for 2023. And with this in view, we encourage you to continue to bring your partnership, your zeal, your enthusiasm, and most of all, your experience to help us to build innovative and exciting projects that will enable our young people and empower our kingdom. On behalf of the royal family, we extend to you a very hearty 2023. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Earth care, people care, fair share. These are the ethics of a sustainable world economy. We developed a method of farming that heals the planet while producing some of the most potent herbs for human consumption. Our founders believe that it is not only possible to provide employment to all the jobless people through agroforestry industries, but that it is critical to human survival, that we do this as a business, collectively. Rural community and eco-restoration, when done correctly, have proven to revive soils, uplift families out of poverty, and produce some of the most potent herbal medicines known to humankind. Venture Innovations was born out of the need to bridge our African agroforestry company, Priceless Farms, with the global markets of pharmaceutical and natural products industry. Our approach to going public on the Canadian Stock Exchange is driven by the desire to become a globally recognized eco-restoration, natural products, and technology innovation corporation. We have built our group of companies around the central ideology that, working with nature, rather than against it, is the future of business. With the advent of blockchain technologies, we have developed a utility token which will enable anyone in the world to participate in the expansion of our model across the tropical world. Our forests are more than just herbal tapestries with vast spectrums of phytochemical molecules to exploit. They are remedies for global warming, and supply staple foods from the space between the trees. We call this our World Rejuvenation Platform. It is an adaptable climate-smart human-centric approach to creating large supplies of foods, fuels, fibers, and medicines for generations to come. Venturi Innovations is developing into 5 of the top trending markets in the world today: carbon offsets, herbal and natural products, agriculture land acquisition, biofuels, and education technologies to support the rural population's uptake of our systems that can spread throughout the tropics. The herbal industry is growing by 18% per year, while the growth of carbon offsets, and food production, are set on a major rise in the coming years. Venturi is perfectly positioned to make a major positive impact on our world. We need as many people as possible, to invest in our mission, share in the global vision for a cleaner, smarter, and safer world. If you're looking to put your money towards real solutions, with real returns, consider an investment in Venturi, where money truly does grow on trees.